Hello and welcome to etbfsi.com. My name is Amol Dete and I'm in conversation with Ms. Padmaja Chunduru, the MD and CEO of Indian Bank. Ma'am, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Ma'am, to begin with, there are a lot of changes actually happening in the banking sector right now. And specifically after the pandemic, the PSU banks were expecting some restructuring. The RBI also reduced policies. Specifically the repo rate. Basically, there were a lot of adventures that happened in the, specifically the banking industry in last 7 to 8 months. To begin with, my first question to you is, since everybody is talking and, foreseeing some major developments in the March quarter, whatever the experience that we had with last 3 quarters, how do you see the last quarter, which is the March quarter in 2021?
So you're specifically asking about the March quarter, right? Our eyes are now focused on December quarter. Of course, what you said is true, that this pandemic has changed the whole ballgame. Right. And Reserve Bank or government both have been bringing out a lot of initiatives, coming out with initiatives. I won't call it adventures, but policy tweaks and whatever is required to keep the liquidity in the system going, and also to some extent giving support to the vulnerable sections, MSMEs or retail. And this restructuring you mentioned is a case in point. It was expected to be a whole-scale, sort of a restructuring across all the verticals, especially corporate and retail were what we were expecting. Because MSME in some garb, it was getting restructured over the last 2 years. And they have been receiving support even through GECLS and other schemes. So MSME, while it would use, we were projecting that both corporate and retail would be the major users of restructuring. But to our surprise, while corporate is still picking up, I think corporate would come up to whatever projections we made based on the assessment of our units, our accounts. Retail is a surprise. Retail, there has not been, despite outreach, despite making everything available on the portal, retail customers are not coming forward so much for restructuring. So we are in a very massive outreach program, saying that if you can pay, please pay, but if you cannot, please let us restructure. The awareness and also the talking to them, saying that this, the fear of stigma or fear of the credit scoring coming down, that is also holding back. But you cannot keep on postponing a decision based on some perceived fears. So where the going is really bad, we are telling them that it's okay. You can again, when you start earning, you can pay back. But for now, you see if you can use the restructuring. So, but all said, I think restructuring would be hardly between 1.5% to 2% of our advance book. And that too mainly coming from corporate, not so much elsewhere. Recovery is picking up in retail. So to that extent, it's okay.
So yes, ma'am. In fact, when I reviewed the results of most of the, let's not talk about private banks, but even PSU banks, the recovery is in line for most of the banks. Yes. But the major, what you can say, everybody was so bullish, specifically on the restructuring, and they hope that this will be the biggest tool for the industry. But what could be the major reason that the borrowers are not coming forward specifically for the restructuring? And as you also mentioned that you don't want to postpone the things. Right. So why, is that?
On the retail front, especially, I can speak for Indian Bank.
Right.
I think given our portfolio of retail, it's mostly housing loans and it's mostly to the salaried people. Right. So not many of them have really been, there is a clause that they should be COVID impacted, in the sense that they should have either lost their job or they should have, their income should have been impacted in a very big way. So I don't think many of our customers fall into that eligibility category also, because they are salary earners. And for some reason, if they had been, going slow on their repayments, this outreach by the bank and saying that if you are not eligible for restructuring, then there is really, no other go. So, and with the COVID improving, the vaccine news, everything is getting a brighter picture. So I think the recovery in the last 2 months has improved. So it's not like restructuring is something that everyone needs to take. It is also the eligibility. It is also the question of whether they really need it. In public sector banks, especially Indian Bank, I don't think many of our customers have been really impacted. So while the collection percentage for the bank is going up, we are still trying to see that it remains at a very low level. Retail normally is very good. So
Okay.
I hope that it will still be a slightly higher, the slippages in retail,
Okay.
but nothing that is not under control.
Okay.
Corporate, I think they are using. And there are also those 26 sectors and those ratios are there, which you need to come with committee recommendations. So mostly the accounts are big accounts with many banks. So in the consortium, it is decided and it will be done.
Okay. Quite interesting, ma'am. Could you also give me a viewpoint on the credit growth going forward? I mean, if recovery is in line and bankers are expecting that there will be a recovery going ahead, how do you see the credit growth? Because now the borrowers are actually coming to banks and they're looking for some credit, right? So how do you see the growth or pickup over there?
If we look at the whole bank level, up to September, it has been very slow between April and September. Partly also, this COVID time and all that. The growth happened in agriculture because agriculture was not impacted. It was going on as usual. And growth also happened very well in MSME, partly because of the government guaranteed loans. And also there, we also gave emergency loans for COVID.
Right.
So all the that was very that came in handy for MSME growth. But corporates, apart from government and NBFCs, PSUs, governments or NBFCs, there has been not much investment in fresh projects and all that. So it has been a bit slow. That is picking up now, especially the infrastructure, the renewable energy. These projects are coming onto the table now since September, October. So we expect a better performance in Q3 and much better in Q4 in terms of corporate growth. I mean, corporate credit. Overall, I think it would be 8 to 9% this year, credit growth.
Okay.
And deposits are growing. There's no issue with deposits. We are focusing on CASA. But deposits, ultimately, we need to, deploy the funds profitably.
Right.
So deposits is not an end in itself. It is more as a means of funding the credit growth. So this is the main decider.
Okay, but what I would like to also learn here, ma'am, is will you go slow in terms of credit evaluation, in terms of borrower's profile, in terms of due diligence, considering what happened in the economy, considering that you will still have some doubts?
In terms of again, I think now, if at all, we need to go faster. It's not slower because once the economy starts picking up, the bank should be there to lend to them. And there we have enough tools, both digital and also our own other skill sets, improvement, enhancements made, which will come in handy. And we have teams in place. For Indian Bank itself, we have set up large corporate and mid corporate branches so that the proposals move directly from the branch to the decision making authority without too many layers in between. And I think with amalgamation, we have a bigger balance sheet size. Allahabad Bank has merged into Indian Bank with
Yes.
effect of 1st April. So we have a much better resilience in the balance sheet to lend to both size and strength of balance sheet to lend to big corporates in a bigger way.
Right.
We can take higher exposures on any corporate now. So with all that, I think we are better placed to lend to both corporates and retail. MSME is anyway our strong point, MSME and agriculture. So I don't see that there is any slowness. Due diligence, yes, but due diligence not at the cost of delay.
Okay, that's very interesting. And thanks for talking about the merger. In which way I wanted to speak about it. So April is the scheduled deadline. Most of the banks have said that they have already merged with a couple of banks, whichever the amalgamation was disclosed there and the partnerships were there. In what stage the Allahabad Bank and Indian Bank merger is? And like you said that you will go to big corporates going ahead. So is there any specific strategy? Are you going to target any particular sector? Is there any cap that you have decided for the large loans when the amalgamation is absolutely, into action?
So as far as the loaning and the business is concerned, amalgamation is already done. 1st April 2020 was the common balance sheet that came out. And we already completed 2 quarters post amalgamation. And both the quarters, the bank has, even during COVID, the bank has done well. And even yes, moratorium was there, but even taking the notional NPAs, which we anyway track, what would have become NPA had there been no moratorium kind of thing. So there also we have we are very satisfied with the results that came out in the first 2 quarters. Uh, I think the amalgamation, as far as the merger of branches and all, we are far ahead uh, of the targets. This year we had proposed that we will close 100 branches. We'll merge 100 branches. We have merged 153 branches so far out of the 300 that were targeted. Similarly, currency chests have been merged, then service branches have been merged, staff training centers. So that despite COVID, people have moved from Calcutta to Chennai because Chennai is our headquarters now. So Calcutta, many of those leased premises have been surrendered. So cost synergies are also coming in. IT is progressing very fast. IT is the almost the last leg of integration. That takes a lot of steps, milestones. And we expect that within a month we will complete the IT integration also. But that doesn't, delay us from taking the benefits of the merger to the customers. This merger has been one of the most smooth and seamless for the customers. And from day one, I have been in touch with Allahabad Bank corporates and other customers also to assure them that Indian Bank would continue all the relationships that Allahabad Bank had. And they had very good relationships. So we are in touch with them, and there is a lot of goodwill for Indian Bank now in UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Patna. So we have a good base there. I think this will help us in reaching out to all the mid-corporates also. We have set up a mid-corporate vertical, apart from the large corporates. So mid-corporate is one where I think there is enough potential for the banks to look at. It is a different field again. So between MSME and large corporate, there's a mid-corporate vertical, which will focus on these corporates and get better business for the bank and for the customers also.
Any specific estimation that you have for the growth from this particular vertical?
It is a new vertical just formed, but yes, we expect at least 10% from them. So we have said that anything above 25 crores and up to 150 crores loans, because we want to focus on that segment and build the base. These will become large corporates tomorrow. So this will naturally transcend into the large corporate vertical once they cross a certain limit. But at least we can focus and nurture these companies while they are still in the medium level.
Okay. Give me some also sense, ma'am, on the retail portfolio, because you have a good exposure over there. And what we have seen is, there are two different data sets available here. There are a few people who says that, okay, automobile sale is going up, even housing sale is going up. But in reality, there is a mismatch with, different organizations putting different numbers. So how is it for you? Do you see, pick up in your auto book and home loan book specifically in the retail segment?
Not so much during the first 2 quarters. Our retail book is predominantly housing loans. 80% is housing loans, fully secured. Not so much, we don't do so much of mortgage loans and all that. I know LAP, loan against property, is a very small segment of that. Then there is the vehicle loans, yes. And then education loans also is a part of the personal loan, retail loan segment. Right. So housing loans now they are growing. Starting from September, there is a pickup in housing loans. I think in the Q4 it should be much better. So some of the tier 2, tier 3 cities are doing very well. Those branches are doing much better than some of the metros also. So I think there is that affordability and also the decision, about committing themselves this. Millennials entering into the housing space. Right. So I expect that this will pick up going forward. Vehicle loans, yes, there is a traction in auto, in the car loans. Mostly our loans are to either the salaried people or to our own customers in MSME and other segments who also buy a personal vehicle for themselves. So that is going okay. Not too much aggressive growth there. Education loan has been an issue with some of the areas, especially in some of the zones we have a problem both in north and in the south. So we have tweaked that model also to suit this online education now. Now that even many of the Western universities are saying that it would be partly online and they'll see when they start campus classes. I think we are looking at other modes of funding for these type of colleges. So education loan should pick up, but that will be a gradual thing.
Okay. Ma'am, you partly mentioned about millennials. In fact, that is one of the interesting area which many NBFCs, banks, and also fintechs are catering to. In fact, to my surprise, in fact, a lot of fintechs are giving loans to millennials. Those are going on date. Those are really interesting things are happening. So, since you mentioned about the millennial, is there any data point that how many millennials are buying home loans or something? By any chance, are you looking at that data?
We are looking at that data. We have a data analytics department. I mean, we have a set of people looking at this thing. We track more from, yes, how many new customers are coming from the millennial segment to the
Right.
bank, right?
Right.
What is the age group of the people who are opening new accounts? Because we want to, while we service all our existing customers, all the demography that we have, still we need to keep getting the new entrants into the bank. So
Right.
that is growing at a good speed. It is keeping up with whatever. We've also come out with a mobile all-in-one app, which we call in Oasis. So that captures it's all our apps merged into one, and it also provides loyalty points and on debit cards, credit cards. So I think, and even on when people come online, there is a loyalty points that we give when they move from physical to the digital transactions, just to
Right.
encourage them to come onto online banking, because that is a big thing we need to do. Yes, millennials are entering into the housing loan off track. I can't say how many have used our housing loans, but we do that analytics and keep sending pre-approved
Right.
loans kind of thing to them to say, okay, you can apply online. The lead is taken up and loans are given. So
Right.
this has just picked up speed now. We were slightly, waiting for this IT integration of both the banks to happen, because that would be a big change. It would make things far more smoother. We are also putting end-to-end digitization in place for lending,
Okay.
taking advantage of this amalgamation. Anyway, the whole process is changing. So we thought we'll change even what was needed in Indian Bank also we'll do it right now. At one go, the bank will emerge as a stronger digital bank also,
Right.
apart from being a bigger bank.
Right. I think quite interesting that, ma'am. Considering whatever the changes that we have seen, in fact, the unprecedented changes in 2020, people are very hopeful that 2021 will be a better year. And for BFSI sector, it has to be better because they are the growth engine for the economy. So if I ask your vision or your analysis, how do you see 2021? What kind of changes do you see in the banking sector, and how different will it be in terms of growth?
Compared to 2020, I'm sure 2021 would look like a very big, bright year ahead. Year on year, everything will look very good, definitely. But I think there are 2 points. One is the growth, and the other is the system resilience. If one thing that COVID has really tested banks, it is on their, the capital or the asset quality. With all the initiatives given by, all guidelines given by RBI, still the banks had to really do a lot of stress tests and really check ourselves on whether our capital is enough to take any out of the blue events like this one, like this COVID. So I think that is one awareness that has been almost like a shock therapy for us. And thank God that with all the measures that were put in place in the last 3-4 years, I think banks have proved to be quite resilient in the system. So I think this awareness and this prudence will continue into not only 21 but beyond that also. And growth, yes, the economy will pick up. All sectors will pick up, but definitely the logistics and there are IPOs that are being subscribed 500 times. I don't know. There are so many, whether it is in food or whether it is in service. uh, I see that there is a lot of new sectors that will come up, and the banks should be ready to collaborate with fintechs and also fund some of them. We ourselves tied up with IIT Madras Incubation Cell to fund their incubated units, startups. So we are lending to them working capital so that these startups grow and actually, grow to their full potential. And I think overall across the ecosystem, awareness about risk and being prepared for risk is something that this COVID has brought up and front for all of us. I think that would, if we keep these learnings in our mind, it should be a very stable and sustained growth for the industry going forward.
Right. Thanks for that note. Just before I wrap up, I will take one more question, which you give me a hint of, and in which I wanted to actually ask about the startups and the fintech partnerships. So, how do you see the partnerships with fintechs pan out with Indian Bank going ahead? Because no single bank in the country can afford to partner with the fintechs now, because everybody is talking about the partnerships and collaborations to take the best benefit of the digital. So, what is there on your radar?
So from the banking side, I find that, we can, when we collaborate, it can be on the lending, which is the obvious thing to do. Right. Where you integrate with their software, and then co-lending sort of happens. So that we are working on with 2-3 fintechs. There is also a fintech working on aqua lending, fisheries, and that kind of blue. I think there is some name there. So that we are doing. We are tying up with them to. They will give us the information about where this businesses can go well. What will be the exports? What will be the market and all that. So this is a good thing. Indian Bank is very strong in agriculture. So agriculture allied activities also should be our forte. That's what my view is. And then the gold loans. Gold loans also Indian Bank, again, traditionally South gold loans have been good. So now we are spreading this to the North. Many of our zones in Allahabad, as well Allahabad Bank also have picked up now. On the retail segment, we are building the gold loan portfolio with proper valuers or keratometers or whatever. There also there are fintechs stepping in to give us that last mile, service. So there we are tying up. Lending, even in terms of data analytics or information, there are a lot of fintechs giving the artificial intelligence kind of or database for us, data analysis. Apart from this, even where we are not directly, lending to them, we can collaborate with them. We can give them our data and use it as an accelerator for them. So there, I think some tie-up that they will be with the bank for 2-3 years going forward needs to be there. We are working with 2-3 fintechs in that space. Apart from that, we are lending to not only fintechs, agri-techs, whatever startups are coming out of IIT Madras and other universities and other incubation cells. We are very open to looking at funding startups. And first we are doing debt. Eventually, once we get our board approval, we also want to invest in equity in a small way.
Right. I think that sounds a good plan, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. It was really meaningful talking to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching etbfsi.com. Stay tuned, stay connected, and stay safe. Thank you.